AITA for considering divorce after my wife and her family broke my trust? My wife, Emily, and I have been married for 5 years, and up until recently, I thought our relationship was rock solid. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but nothing that ever made me seriously question our future together. That changed 2 weeks ago when I discovered something that has shaken me to my core, and now I'm contemplating divorce. Emily comes from a very close-knit family, which I admired at first. Her parents and siblings are always around, often unannounced, but I didn't mind because family is important to her. I tried to be understanding, even when they would offer unsolicited advice or subtly criticize how I do things. I figured it was just part of being married to someone with such a tight family bond. However, about a month ago, I started noticing that Emily was acting a bit strange, more secretive than usual, hiding her phone whenever I walked into the room, whispering during phone calls, and making excuses to leave the house alone. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off, saying she was just planning a surprise for me. Last week, while she was out shopping, I received a message on Facebook from a mutual friend, linking me to a private group chat that Emily had apparently forgotten to log out of on our shared laptop. What I saw in that chat devastated me. Emily, her parents, and her 2 sisters were discussing an elaborate plan to convince me to sell our home, my childhood home, left to me by my late parents, so that we could buy a new house closer to her family. They were even talking about ways to manipulate me into thinking it was my idea, playing on my emotions about starting a family soon. The most gut-wrenching part? They were mocking me, calling me gullible and too attached to the past, saying that I wouldn't even realize what was happening until it was too late. Emily was actively participating in this, agreeing with their every word. I confronted Emily that night, and she didn't deny any of it. She tried to justify it by saying she thought it was in our best interest to be closer to her family, especially with us planning to have kids soon. She claimed that they weren't trying to hurt me, but rather trying to do what was best for our future. I told her that if she had just talked to me about it directly, I might have considered it, but the fact that she was plotting behind my back with her family, making fun of me in the process, felt like the ultimate betrayal. I asked her how I could ever trust her again after this. She apologized profusely, saying she made a mistake and would never go behind my back again, but I'm not sure if I can believe her. Now, I'm seriously considering divorce. The thought of staying married to someone who could deceive me so easily, and who had no problem involving her entire family in the deception, makes me sick to my stomach. But at the same time, I'm questioning whether I'm overreacting. Emily insists that she had good intentions, and her family is acting like I'm the one being unreasonable by even thinking about leaving her over this. Now on to the next story. Story 2. AITA for not caring about my son and DIL being intimate at night in their own home? For context, everyone in this situation is South Asian, so elements of a very conservative mindset are involved here. My son, 26M, and DL, 25F, were both raised in America. My husband, 57M, and I, 54F, have both lived in America for almost 20 years now, and my cousin, 65M, lives in our native country. My son and DIL got married 6 months ago. My DL is an amazing person. She's the kindest, sweetest, and most loving person I know, and I'm really happy that my son is with her. She's also approximately 10 to 11 weeks pregnant with their first child. Recently, my cousin and his wife were visiting his daughter's family, who lives about 2 hours away from my son and DL. They couldn't attend the wedding, and my son and DL offered to have them over for a night. From what my son tells me, he only wanted to have them over for dinner to minimize the stress on DL during the pregnancy, but my DL insisted that they stay the night, and she promised to make them a nice breakfast before they left the following morning. I got a call from my cousin the morning after they left my son and DL's home, and he said that his wife woke up late at night to get some water and bumped into my son in the hallway, and his face was covered in lipstick kisses. My cousin said that he and his wife didn't feel comfortable staying at their place because of this, and then went on to comment that I didn't raise my son right and called my DL a whore and some other nasty things. I spoke to my son, and he corroborated my cousin's wife's story. I literally do not care about what my cousin's wife saw. My son and his wife were doing whatever they wanted to in their own home, and sure, they had guests, but clearly they didn't wake anyone up, and it was late enough that the reasonable expectation would be that any guest would be asleep. Secondly, rather than showing any appreciation for my son and DL for having them over or for my DL's otherworldly cooking, they want to comment on a married couple doing married couple things and degrade and insult my DL. I told my cousin this, and he and his wife think I'm being ridiculous and not understanding his and his wife's feelings. He has told his siblings, my other cousins, and they are staying out of this conversation. AITA,